Hey everyone, Al Fragnoli, joined again today with Dr. Mike Smith, who is a leadership guru, leadership coach, does a lot of work with intelligent leadership, executive coaching, has an extensive background in the leadership coaching industry. Doc, thanks so much for coming on and chatting leadership again today with me. Truly appreciate it.
Thanks, Al. It's good to see you again as always.
Thank you, thank you. Well, we've had some great conversations the past few weeks on the mental mindset that leaders must possess to be successful, and that goes for really any industry that somebody and a leader is working in. We're going to piggyback and talk a little bit again about the mental mindset that leaders must possess. Doc, I want to pick your brain a little bit and talk to you about taking responsibility and taking ownership. Really critically important for leaders with any company to take responsibility, take ownership in their actions and everything that they're doing each and every day to lead their organization and their teams. What are some thoughts, some experiences that you have around this topic and taking responsibility and taking ownership?
So ownership and personal responsibility is a huge factor in success and leading others. And you hear that old cliche saying, that this particular thing, it's not easy, but it is simple. It's literally a decision. The only problem comes into play is when we let our external circumstances dictate and drive our internal emotions and thoughts, right? That result into behaviors. And, Jocko Willink wrote a book, the Navy SEAL Jocko, he wrote a book called Extreme Ownership. Amazing book. I don't know if you've read it or not, but if not, I would highly recommend it. But he really talks about the premise of, look, at the end of the day, as a leader, no one's coming to save you. Like, you're it. You have responsibilities, you have people, assets to care for, to lead, to manage, to oversee, to inspire. So think about this though. And I know I see the pictures of your beautiful kids on the wall there. So this story kind of might resonate you. I'm going to ask you if you've ever experienced this, right? So just imagine this, your wife's in the kitchen, right? Preparing dinner, right? Just set out a nice tray of hot chocolate chip cookies right out of ovens, turns her back and she's making salad and prepping the dinner. One of your kids comes into the kitchen. She says, now, Susie, don't touch any of those cookies. Those are for dessert, because I don't want you to, what? Spoil your appetite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Turn around, keep working on the salad, preparing the dishes, set the stuff on the table, and wouldn't you know it, there's a cookie gone, crumbs on the table, right? Your wife walks into the room, sees little Susie, and now, Susie, what did mommy tell you? Did you eat the cookie? And little Susie turns around, crumbs all over her face and melted chocolate chip cookies. She said, wasn't me. Right? I mean, have you experienced that?
Oh yeah, that's happened. And Doc, I gotta be honest, there'd probably be two cookies gone because I'd be taking one and giving Susie the other. That'd be the honest thing that probably happened. But yes, I've experienced that.
So the interesting thing about that, as far as I know, right, most parents don't teach a 3 or a 4-year-old to lie, right? When you're asked a question. So where does that come from? Like, that's genetically in our DNA. It's that whole fight or flight, right? The flight, perceived safety, the fight, perceived conflict. As a matter of fact, several years ago, there's a renowned British psychologist, Professor Richard Wiseman, that did a study, and he found that approximately 40% of 3-year-old children that had just learned to speak lie. Okay. So in the environment of a child, I mean, it's pretty safe, right? We don't know a whole lot yet, haven't experienced life or living or a job or groups, social groups like in high school and college, right? The bowling league, all that stuff. So if it's ingrained in us that strong at 3, 4, and 5-year-old, just let's fast forward now to 15 and then to 18 and then to 30, right? Now you've had all these years for that type of thought process, behavior, deflection, whatever it is, to get more and more ingrained in you. So again, it's simple for ownership and personal responsibility, but it's not easy. And one of the things that accepting personal responsibility and taking ownership does, it is allows us as leaders to come from a place of humility and objective reality versus ego and delusion, right? When you own it, you step into a position of power to control the outcomes and how you choose to respond versus react. A quick story, and this is true, I'm not even kidding. This happened about 7 or 8 years ago. My wife and I will be married 30 years this year. So I came home from work one day, I was working at Berkshire Hathaway, just dragging, right? I walked in the door like, what's that Winnie the Pooh character with the donkey with the cloud always over him?
Oh, I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember the name.
Eeyore. Eeyore.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So I came in the door, just Eeyore, dragging my bag, no energy. And I was looking at my wife and came in the door and right, to get her attention, because I just knew my lovely, darling wife would be my savior, remote control, order a pizza, slippers on my feet. I just knew that was what's going to happen, right? So I walk in the door. She said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Well, I had just a terrible day, man. Everyone depends on me. I just feeling beat up. Just things weren't going right. I just don't even know what the deal is." And I'm not even kidding. She said, "Well, I know what's wrong, sweetie. I really do. First of all, you're fat." I was like, "What?" I mean, my clothes fit me that morning when I went to work. I didn't know what the heck she was talking about, but okay, maybe I am just a little bit, right? And then she said, "And you're a little bit lazy too." Strike two, dog. My wife, who's supposed to be ordering me a pizza and giving me the remote, right? I took out the garbage that morning, so I got my exercise for the day. And then she said, "And you're not getting any younger." So now I'm old, fat, lazy, and old. In the span of 30 seconds, right? I went from a pizza and the remote control to that. But then this is what she said that really, I mean, no kidding, this was an aha moment for me. And she said, "Instead of complaining about it, why don't you fix it?"
Yeah, you have the power to change it, right?
Yep. And so when I stepped into that, we went together and got a gym membership. And then that's kind of really started me to shift my whole paradigm. And again, when you take control of and own and take personal responsibility for the scenarios and the situations that come up, man, it just gives you so much power over that. So anyhow, that's just a couple of stories, as silly as they are, but they're really, I mean, I'm sure everyone can relate because we've all been there, but especially as leaders, when people see you stepping in and stepping up, now you're starting to role model ownership and personal responsibility besides living it yourself.
Absolutely. That is a powerful message and story that you shared right there. Simple and small one, but and I'm sure you probably see this and know it's true, but you're lucky to be surrounded by a wife who tells you the truth and what goes on, because it's going to make you in turn a better person as well. But you mentioned that professor that did some research and came up with the statistic and found that roughly 40% of children learn to lie. That's just one of the things as they learn to speak, that's what they're doing, is lying, which is interesting because, Doc, you gotta believe that as you get older, people are potentially lying even more, and it's a safety and defense mechanism, right? And so a lot of companies, a lot of people that are looking up to the CEO and top level of leadership, if they know when somebody's not being truthful and honest with them. And it's really important to see leaders take ownership, take responsibility, like we're talking about here today. If you make a mistake, it's okay, right? Just because you're the CEO doesn't mean you have all the answers to everything, right? So I love some of the stories you shared, and I love that statistic that you shared right there. Navy SEALs, Extreme Ownership. I have that book, Doc. I've had it for probably 2 years. So I think now that you brought it up again, it's time for me to pick it up and read it and wipe off that dust a little bit. So that'll be on the next one here this month to read. But I love some of the stuff you shared, Doc. It's all powerful information. If any of this stuff resonates with any of you, please reach out, leave a comment, drop it in the lines. We want to hear from you. But truly important for all leaders to take responsibility and take ownership in their actions, their daily actions, day-to-day life, in everything that they're doing as they lead their company, their teams. If they want to have true success, they got to take on ownership. So again, Doc, appreciate the time, appreciate the stories. Always great chatting with you. We look forward to talking to you again next week about the mental mindset and expanding upon this topic and what it takes to truly be successful for leaders. Thanks, Doc.
Thanks, Al.